Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janabalabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Punjabi Bhani. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Shri Radhe. Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Kantaraj Shrimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Nrsingadev Chaturdasi Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from Canto 7, Chapter 8, entitled The Lord Slays the King of Demons, text number 30. Prabhuji, can I have a glass of water, please? Thank you. Samrambhadushpreksha karalalochana Yatita nanantam vilihansva jivaya asvriklavakta runakesharanano yatantramali dvipahatyaya hari Samrambhadushpreksha karalalochano Vyatitananantam vilihansva jivya asriglavat asriglavaktaruna kesharanano yatantramali dvipahatyaya harihi. Please chant. Would like to chant? Joy's fine. Yeah, Joy's fine. Yadhantaramali dvipahatyaya hari. Messages? Shriklavaksam Krishnanano Yatantramali Dvipahatyaya Hari Atishpraksha Karala Lochano Yatanantam. Okay, word for word, please repeat. Samrambha, because of great anger. Dushpreksha, very difficult to look at. Karala, very fearful. Lochana, eyes. Yata, expanded. Anana, anlan, antam. Anana antam, the edge of the mouth. Bilihan, licking. Svajivaya, with his tongue. Asriklava, with spots of blood. Akta, smeared. Aruna, reddish. Kishara, mane. Anana, and face. Yata, just as. Antramali, decorated with a garland of intestine. Svipahatyaya, by the king of an elephant, by the killing of an elephant. Hari, the lion. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Lord Narasimha's mouth and mane were sprinkled with drops of blood, and his fierce eyes, full of anger, were impossible to look at. Licking the edge of his mouth with his tongue, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narasimha, decorated with a garland of intestines taken from Hiranyakashipu's abdomen, resembled a lion that had just killed an elephant. Purport. The hair on Lord Narasimha's face, being sprinkled with drops of blood, was reddish and looked very beautiful. Lord Narasimha pierced Hiranyakashipu's abdomen with his nails, pulled out the demon's intestines, and wore them as a garland, which enhanced his beauty. Thus the Lord became very fearsome, like a lion engaged in fighting an elephant. Om Jnanatimidandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Korochi Vachalam Pangun Laigaite Garim Yakripatamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you all for coming for today's Narasimha Katha. Today is an extraordinarily auspicious day. Not just because it's the appearance of Lord Narasimha, but it is also the disappearance of Hiranyakashipu, Nitai Gaur Premanande. So we're hearing only the Supreme Personality of Godhead could be described as beautiful when sprayed with blood. This is a very, very gruesome, horrific scene. And yet we're hearing how the Lord becomes even more beautiful than he already is. So the Lord appeared because of his pure, unalloyed devotee, Prahlad. Now, when I think of Prahlad Maharaj, the thought came to mind the other day how he is the perfect example of Lord Chaitanya's instruction, Yare Deke Taraka Krishna Upadesha. Wherever you go, whoever you meet, you tell them about Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj was fearless in his preaching, completely and utterly fearless. When Hiranyakashipu found out that his son, his own son, had become a devotee of Vishnu, his eternal enemy, he was furious. And he decided immediately, I have to extinguish this so-called son of mine. I have to kill him. And Bhagavatam explains the different ways in which Hiranyakashipu tried to kill Prahlad Maharaj. He had his servants beat him with tridents. He had him thrown under the feet of elephants. He was thrown into a pit of snakes. He employed destructive spells, black magic. He threw him off a cliff. He administered poison to him. He tried starving him and exposing him to severe heat, cold, wind, and fire. And he threw heavy stones to crush him. Now, it was after all these ways in which Hiranyakashipu had tried to kill Prahlad, that Prahlad Maharaj then preached to his schoolmates. I've just been reading through these instructions that Prahlad Maharaj gave to his schoolmates. And they're so profound, so deep, and there's so many powerful instructions within them. Bearing in mind, these instructions were coming from a 5-year-old boy. A 5-year-old boy. He tells his schoolmates, Komara achare pragyo dharmam bhagavatam miha, dulabam manusham janma, tad apyar tadam. The last one? Anyway, he says that for one who is sufficiently intelligent from the very beginning of life, in other words, from the tender age of childhood, they should use this human form of life to engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This human form of life is very rarely achieved, and it is meaningful. Therefore, it should be used for the sole purpose of glorifying the Supreme Lord, because even the slightest amount of devotional service can award one all perfection. He then explains that happiness achieved by sense gratification can be had in any species of life. That just as one receives distress without endeavoring for it, similarly, one receives happiness according to one's karma. One receives happiness automatically, just as one receives distress. And then he gives a synopsis of the life of the sense enjoyer. He says that for one who cannot control their senses, he says 50% of their life is wasted sleeping. Say one lives 100 years, 50 years are spent sleeping. He says for the first 10 years, you're kind of bewildered. You're just trying to work out what's going on. So your first 10 years of your life is wasted. The second 10 years is engaged in play and sports, and therefore another 10 years wasted. The last 20 years of life, you're just trying to fight off disease. Dementia, Alzheimer's, arthritis, all these wonderful things that come in old age. That leaves 10 years left. So 50 years gone sleeping. You lost 20 years at the beginning of your life, 20 years at the end of your life. That leaves 10 years left. And what are you doing in those 10 years? You're engaged in working like an ass for sense gratification, just for some temporary sense gratification. Then he talks about the life of the attached householder, how he is strongly bound by the ropes of affection, and that he sees money as sweeter than honey. That the affectionate wife is always speaking nice words. And who can give up the association of such a wife? The children are always speaking in broken language, which is so sweet and pleasing to the ear. Who can give up the association of such affectionate children? Then the daughter is especially dear to the father. And when the daughter goes to the house of her husband, she always remains within the mind of the father. Therefore, who can give up such association? And then there is the decorative furniture, the animals and the servants. Who can give up the association of such an item? So this is a very amazing chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the first 20 verses describe fully the miseries of matter. And then the last 10 verses describe the glories of spirit, the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then Prahlad Maharaj, he petitions his demoniac school friends. He says, just utilize this life for glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead and give up your demoniac nature of the duality and enmity. Show mercy to other living entities by enlightening them in devotional service and become their well-wishers. And Prahlad Maharaj, he was successful in his preaching. He transformed all his schoolmates to Krishna Bhaktas, to devotees. Now, this was intolerable for Hiranyakashipu. He is described that he was like a snake that had been stood on. And Of course, Sanda and Marka, the Asura Kula teachers, they were beside themselves in anxiety that when Hiranyakashipu finds out, he's going to kill us. But when Hiranyakashipu found out, he decided to kill Prahlad. And as we know, at that point, when Hiranyakashipu struck the pillar, Lord Narasimha jumped out. And as we're hearing in today's verse, ripped out Hiranyakashipu's intestines and garlanded himself. I was just curious, about what Hiranyakashipu must have been experiencing, having his intestines ripped out. So just out of curiosity, I asked ChatGPT what it's like to have one's intestines ripped out. I'll spare you the details, but in summary, it is an agonizing and fatal experience that represents one of the most extreme forms of suffering a human body can endure. But was this really what Hiranyakashipu was experiencing? He was being touched. He was on the lap of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose body is made of eternity, knowledge, and condensed bliss. Was he really experiencing that suffering? I can say in my own experience, I have had the unimaginable good fortune of bathing the lotus feet of my spiritual master, and who does not have a material body, that is for sure. When I am touching his lotus feet, it is a very liberating experience. The only way I know that I'm got a body is because I see my hands in front of my face. So what to speak of being personally touched by the Supreme Lord, Hiranyakashipu? He must also have been experiencing bliss at being touched by the Supreme Lord. So there is another appearance of Lord Narasimha that I would like to talk about today. On the 24th of May, 1984, at 2:20 a.m., a group of 35 dacoits attacked Sri Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir with weapons and bombs. It was at that time a bomb exploded and His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj lost his leg. The dacoits went too far when they decided to steal the deities of Srila Prabhupada and Srimati Radharani. The devotees could not tolerate this, and fearlessly they attacked the dacoits. Shots were fired, and some dacoits fell. Needless to say, the devotees' minds were extremely disturbed by such a terrible event. The ISKCON Mayapur management, of which the co-director was Bhavananda Prabhu at the time, they were discussing amongst themselves how they could prevent such an activity from happening again. And Bhavananda Prabhu said that they should install Lord Narasimha. When the yoga pit had been attacked by dacoits, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, had promptly installed Lakshmi Narasimha. And from that time, they had no more problem with dacoits. So Bhavananda explained that we should install Lord Narasimha. And the other members of the management were a little hesitant because Lord Narasimha has to be worshipped by a Naishtika brahmachari, and the worship has to be extremely strict and regulated. So one day, Bhavananda Prabhu was speaking with Atmatava Prabhu and Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhu. And he said that this deity of Lord Narasimha should be, his knees should be bent, his fingers should be curled, his eyes should be looking ferociously in all directions, and his flames should be coming from his mane. So Atmatava Prabhu and Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhu, they drew this sketch, and at that time, Pankajangri Prabhu just volunteered for worshipping the Supreme, worshipping Lord Narasimha, and Radha Pad Prabhu, a wealthy landowner from Kolkata, agreed to sponsor the installation and carving of the deity. So Atmatava Prabhu, he was sent to South India, to Kanchanipur, to Kanchipuram, to find a stapati. A stapati is a person who carves deities, who's expert in temple architecture and engineering. So he went to one stapati and told him, we want Ugra Narasimha, a deity of Ugra Narasimha to worship. And the stapati matter-of-factly said, no, I'm not going to carve this deity. So Atmatava Prabhu was like, oh, okay. And so he decided to go to many stapatis and petition them to carve this form of the Lord. And every single one he went to said, no, I'm not going to carve this deity. So therefore he went back to the original stapati and petitioned his case. He said, we've been attacked by dacoits. We need this form of Lord Narasimha to protect the devotees. And he showed the sketch of Lord Narasimha that he had drawn. And this stapati, he was very impressed with this sketch. And he read a section of Shastra which explains this form of Lord Narasimha. And the stapati offered to draw a sketch according to the scripture. So he drew the sketch of the deity according to scripture. The scripture specifically deals with the carvings of different forms of the Lord. And Amitava Prabhu was very happy with the sketch, but the stapati was still very adamant he would not sculpt, he would not make the deity. So Amitava Prabhu went back to Mayapur, and everyone was ecstatic to see this drawing, this sketch of this Ugra Narasimha. And they were determined, they said, we have to have this stapati make the deity. So they sent Amitabha Prabhu back to South India. And again, he petitioned. Oh, no, actually, he went back to see the Stapati. And as soon as he arrived, the Stapati said, I will carve your deity. And it was very interesting. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhatamarani ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki. So this Stapati, he explained that he had taken, he went to go and see his guru. And he told his guru that, some people have come and they want Ugra Nrsimha sculpted. And the guru said, no, don't do it. You will destroy your family. You and your family will be destroyed if you carve this deity. And after some reflection, the guru asked his disciple, so who is it that wants this deity? And so the Stapati explained, it's the Hare Krishna people in Mayapur. They've been having trouble with dacoits. And he showed his guru the sketch of the deity. And the guru said that this deity, this is no ordinary Ugra Nrsimha. This is Stanu Nrsimha. This is Lord Nrsimhadev who's jumping out of the pillar, the most ferocious form of Lord Nrsimhadev, who's just jumping out of the pillar. He said, there is no deity like this on the planet. He said, even the Devatas in Svargaloka don't worship Lord Nrsimhadev in this form. And so the Stapati returned to his home. A few days later, he had a dream. His guru came to him in his dream and said, for ISKCON, you can carve Ugra Nrsimha. And the next morning, he received a handwritten note from his guru saying that for ISKCON, you can carve this form of Ugra Nrsimha. So therefore, Amitabha Prabhu was ecstatic to find out that this Stapati was going to carve the guru, going to carve Lord Nrsimhadev. And so the Stapati said, in 6 months, I will have your deity completed. So Amitabha Prabhu went back to Mayapur. After 4 months, he returned to South India to purchase all the paraphernalia for worshipping Lord Nrsimhadev, and then pick up the deity and go back to Mayapur. And he went and bought all the paraphernalia, then went to go and see the Stapati and said, can I take the deity? And the Stapati said, what deity? He said, I haven't even found the stone yet. And Amitabha couldn't believe his ears. He said, he challenged the Stapati. He said that there's slabs of stone all over South India. Pick one. And the Stapati said, looked at him like a teacher to a student. And he said, what do you think? I'm carving a grinding mortar? He said, this is a deity. The stone has to be living. So there's 2 ways in which you can tell whether the stone is living or not. If it has to be hit in 7 places, and if it makes a sound according to scripture, that's how you can tell that it's living. And there's another way, that there's a bug that eats granite and it leaves a trail behind it. And if the trail goes from one side of the stone to the other, then that's the second test is passed. So Amitabha Prabhu was, how's he going to explain this to the manager, ISKCON Mayapur management, that he has to find a living stone? So anyway, after some time, the stone was found, and the deity began, the Stapati began carving the deity. And Amitabha Prabhu went back to Mayapur and told him the good news. Actually, before he left, he forgot. He told the Stapati that I'm really sorry, I forgot to tell you that we want Prahlad Maharaj as well. And the Stapati said, okay, if Lord Nrsingadev is 4 feet high, that means your Prahlad Maharaj will be the size of an amoeba. He said, if you want Prahlad Maharaj made according to Shastra, you know, and Amitabha was adamant, we need a Prahlad Maharaj 1 foot high, 12 inches high. And the Stapati said, fine. That means your Lord Nrsingadev has to be 120 feet high. So anyway, there was some argument back and forth, and the Stapati finally agreed, okay, fine, I'll make a Prahlad Maharaj 1 foot high. So then Amitabha Prabhu went back, and the Stapati was carving the deity. And after the Stapati finished carving the deity, he thought it was monsoon season, there weren't many visitors coming. So he decided to lock Lord Nrsingadev up in his shed, and he went to visit some friends for a few days. Then he would come back and call Amitabha Prabhu to come and collect the deity. So he went to go and see his friends. And then suddenly one of his neighbors came running to him and said, quickly, quickly, come, your shed is on fire. And the Stapati went back and found that his shed had completely been burned to ashes. Everything was burned apart from the deity of Lord Nrsingadev. So he calls up Amitabha Prabhu and says, come now, he wants to go now. So Amitabha Prabhu, he came back to South India, and he thought, it'd be a simple affair, loading the deity up into a truck. He filled the truck half full of sand, but he had forgotten that Lord Nrsingadev is a very heavy personality, and the deity weighed at 1 ton, 1,000 kilos. So anyway, it took them many hours to get the deity up into the truck. And in this way, the trip back to South India was, back to Mayapur, was very simple and straightforward. They had all the paperwork. And that's so on the 28th of July, 1986, Lord Nrsingadev was installed in Sri Mayapur Dham. Haribol. Shri Nrsingadev Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Jai Janitai Gaur Premanande. Are there any questions or comments? Anyone would like to add anything? No? Okay, we'll finish there. Thank you kindly for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Before everyone goes, I have some Maha Nrsingadev oil from the Abhishek in Mayapur here. So if you'd like to come up and get some, please. No? Ladies, please.